Personally, to me, it's become a moment where I don't know if the Clippers experiment is working with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. That's not to say that these players aren't phenomenal players, but just they've been together for this long and there hasn't been any playoff success. And it kind of worries me because I do like Kawhi, but he hasn't had that magical playoff run since that 29 Raptors team. It concerns me with all the blown leads that they had in the bubble and then in the last year's season. They did get to the Western Conference Final, but they ultimately lost to the Suns. What concerns me is how far are they going to get this playoffs? With the new additions of Russell Westbrook, a lot of people would say, oh, he's what's going to ultimately weigh them down. I don't think so. With the series being very hyped because of the relationship between Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, it's like, oh, it's KD and Russ. The beef is renewed. Truthfully, I don't see it anymore. Yes, in 2017 and 2018, this could be true because of how much the impact of the trade to the Warriors affected the Thunder, but also the NBA landscape as a whole. A lot of time has passed since then. A lot of trades have happened individually to both of the guys since then. And so I think these two guys are different now, and it's definitely a different time in their careers versus how it was 4 or 5 seasons ago when the beef was real. And so I don't think that will affect this series too much, honestly. I think Phoenix is too much of a juggernaut with all the all-star talent that they have on this roster. And so I think with how their home performance has been in the regular season, they will take a 2-0 lead over the Clippers. But then I think Kawhi Leonard's going to show up with Russ in games 3 and 4. Paul George will have an impact definitely in the later home stretch of these playoffs, and they'll be able to even the series. But then back in Phoenix, that's where I think Kevin Durant's going to take over in his usual MVP playoff form, where he takes over game 5, and then with a 3-2 series lead going back to LA, back against the wall, with the detriment of how Westbrook and Leonard, but also George play in elimination games where the clutch and the success hasn't necessarily been there, but it has been there for Durant. This is ultimately where I think the Phoenix Suns eliminate the Clippers and get one up on them and move on to the next round. This game will probably be a tight, contested, down to the last shot kind of game where it's fourth quarter, Clippers don't want to go home, it's still a tight game, but then ultimately the Suns are way too overpowered for the Clippers and they are unable to stop them and they move on to the next round.